Hello and welcome back, watch lovers. We all know that the reference numbers that are used to identify a watch can be a little dry. With identifiers such as SKZ279K1 and SRPB49J1, they seem so impersonal, and it fails to show that the ticking timepieces on our wrists are more than just mere objects. It seems like Seiko watch owners have a greater tenacity for giving their watches nicknames to identify them than was realized in part 1. So we're back with 10 more watches in Seiko watches and their nicknames, part 2. Once again, these nicknames are unofficial names that have been thought up and given to these watches by their fans, and you're not going to find any official names given by Seiko on this list. Now let's begin the countdown. At 10 we have the Baby Snowflake. This is the nickname given to the SARX 055 as it shares some features and design cue similarities with its bigger brother, the Grand Seiko Snowflake, otherwise known as the SBGA 211. The Grand Seiko Snowflake is a prestigious and highly desirable watch, and so for an ordinary Seiko costing 1/6 of the price to be compared to it means that the Baby Snowflake is a contender for a watch deserving some serious attention. Like its bigger brother, the Baby Snowflake has a 41mm case made of titanium. The finish and polishing on it is impressive, both on the strap and the case, which also has a water resistance rating of 100 meters. The white dial boasts some highly polished hour markers and hands, while the white dial reveals its intricate ice crystal design upon closer inspection. The dial is covered with a sapphire crystal complete with anti-reflective coating. Move to the back of the watch and we see that this comes with an exhibition caseback. Unfortunately, this reveals the weak point of the watch, which is the industrial-looking 6R15 movement. Although this movement boasts a decent 50-hour power reserve and a hand winding and hacking function, the finishing on it is not deserving enough to be viewed through a clear caseback. At 9 it's the 55 Fathoms, and this is the moniker given to the SNZH57. This model is a part of Seiko's 5 range, which is the entry point into the world of Seiko's automatic watches. Even though this model comes in at the low end of the price scale, it features a classy retro-looking aesthetic that's very similar to the high-end Swiss watch Blancpain 50 Fathoms. The 50 Fathoms is a highly regarded professional dive watch dating back to the 1950s, and so Seiko fans were quick to jump onto the similarities and dub the SNZH57 the 55 Fathoms. The 55 Fathoms has a case size of 42mm and the dome crystal is mineral glass. It's powered by a 23 joule movement with a 41-hour power reserve and is also available in 2 other colorways, including one with a blue dial. There is also a see-through caseback and its water resistance rating is 10 bars. At 8 we have the Starfish. This is the name given to the SKZ283, which comes with a unique shaped black bezel. The star-shaped sides are reminiscent of its namesake sea creature, and it is also sometimes called the Shuriken, which is a martial arts Death Star weapon. The Starfish was produced around the time of 2010 and discontinued shortly after due to the lack of sales. This is a shame because it has a lot going for it as a dive watch. The loom is bright and strong and the unidirectional bezel has a reassuring ratchet-type mechanism which is easy to operate due to its shape. Water resistance is rated as 200 meters due to the presence of a screw-down crown. It was also available with an orange dial and also as a white dial variant. The 7S36 caliber provides the movement which is non-hacking, but it does have a 40-hour plus power reserve. At 7 we have the UFO. This is the nickname for the 6138 Yachtman. The UFO is a chronograph that entered production in the early 1970s and was discontinued towards the end of that decade. This model was produced with several dial variations, but they all had the lugless 44mm case in common, and the shape of this case gave rise to its nickname. The dials were produced with slight design variations, but they were always black with two chronograph silver subdials. A black tachymeter bezel can be found encircling the dial, and this has an inner red circle to add a touch of sportiness. For the movement, the watch used the 6138 caliber, which was the successor to the 6139 caliber that was used in the Seiko Pogue, which was allegedly the first automatic chronograph used in space. At 6 we have the Mohawk. This is the name given to the SRP 587. Seiko seems to have a penchant for creating dive watches with unusual bezels, and the one on the Mohawk is unusual to say the least. The first 20-minute part of the bezel is raised above the rest, which is how it earned its nickname. How this would help for diving purposes, I'm not sure, but if you have any ideas, then leave a comment. Positives for this watch includes a well-designed dial, with Lumet Bright being used on the hands and hour markers. The steel case has a diameter of 45mm, and the crown is a screw-down variety. For the movement, the automatic 4R36 caliber is used, and this is also hand-windable and hackable. The movement also includes a day and date complication at the 3 o'clock position and has a power reserve of 41 hours. The crystal used on this watch is scratch-resistant mineral glass, and the water resistance is rated at 200 meters. If you prefer an orange dial variant, that's also available, and this has a reference number of SRP 589. At 5 we have the Bottlecap. This is the nickname given to watches in the Seiko 5 Sports range, beginning with the reference number SRPC. They come with various dial colorways and finishes, but they all have notches in the unidirectional bezel, which is reminiscent to, you guessed it, a bottle cap. The bottle cap is not a true diving watch as such, as it lacks a screw-down crown and has a water resistance rating of 100 meters. However, they're still highly collectible due to their features and design, which includes one model with a trendy PVD coating. The dial comes complete with luminite loomed hour markers and sword hands. You'll find the crown at the 4 o'clock position, which can also be used to hand wind the automatic 4R36 movement. The watch case is 45mm, which seems quite large but wears smaller due to the short lugs. A hardlex crystal is used instead of sapphire, as the watch comes in at a lower price point and is a great way to enter the world of Seiko automatics. At 4 we have the Root Beer. Root Beer is not a name given to a particular watch as such, but one that has the colorway of a particular soft drink that tastes like cough syrup. Anyone out there that likes the taste of this? We're going to talk about the Prospex SNE 566P that comes in this beautiful root beer colorway and was released in 2020 and limited to 1,500 pieces. The watch case and bracelet is made of steel with rose gold colored accents. Around the dial is this root beer colored bezel, which features a pip marker at the 12 o'clock. Movement is provided by Seiko's V157 caliber, which is solar powered and can run for up to 10 months on just one charge. A 200-meter water resistance rating and a screw-down crown gives this watch its diver status. The hardlex crystal features a cyclops on top of the date window, although a sapphire crystal would have been preferential at this price point. For those lucky enough to purchase this watch, it comes in this mini treasure chest looking box, which includes a spare rubber strap to switch over to. At 3 we have the Captain Willard. This is the name given to the 6105 as it was worn by Charlie Sheen's character known as Captain Willard in the movie Apocalypse Now. The original 6105 was produced between 1968 and 1977 and was actually worn by American soldiers fighting in the Vietnam War as well as the fictional character. Seiko reintroduced a modern version of the classic Willard in 2019. In it, they added a modern 6R35 movement, which has a whopping 70-hour power reserve, and they also gave it a sapphire crystal. Water resistance has increased to 200 meters, and the case size has shrunk slightly to 42.7 millimeters, making it more comfortable on the wrist. At 2 we have the Spork. This is the name given to the SRPD 043. This watch has the hallmarks of a diver. Bezel, check. Screw down case back, check. Deployment clasp, check. 200 meter water resistance, check. And yet it has the dial of a pilot's watch, making it somewhat of a multi-tool watch. A bit like one of those spoon and fork combinations known as a Spork. And this is how the watch got its name. It is, however, a fully certified dive watch in its 44mm case. The movement inside is an automatic 4R15 caliber, which is non-hacking and cannot be hand-wound. It does, however, have a decent 50-hour power reserve. LumiBright is applied to the hands and indices, and the dial sits under a Hardlex crystal. At 1 we have the Sawtooth, and this is the name given to the SHC 057. It gets its name not because it looks like the teeth belonging to this guy, but because the bezel looks like the teeth belonging to a circular saw. The bezel is partially shrouded by the case, reminiscent of another Seiko watch, the Tuner. This is a big watch at 46mm, and coupled with the bright lume, it should be highly legible when used underwater, at which it has a resistance rating of 200 meters. The beautiful sunburst blue dial has a subtle wave pattern which adds a layer of interest for this watch. Movement is provided by a quartz 7N36 caliber, which will be seen as a benefit by some as it's highly accurate and you don't need to keep the watch on a winder when not using. Sadly, this watch has been discontinued by Seiko in favour of the more expensive automatic tuner. This is a shame because it means that there are fewer quality quartz watches available on the market. Thanks very much folks for watching. If you have any more Seiko nicknames that hasn't been featured in this video or the first part of this video, then leave it in the comments. I'll make a part 3 when we get enough nicknames. In the meantime, I'll leave you with the credit of those that suggested the nicknames in this video.